Greetings, salutations, welcome. My name is Jake Query. That is Derek Schultz. He has a stoic, strange grin on his face. This is the incredibly creatively and appropriately named and somewhat charitably award-winning Query and Schultz program. My shirt is too tight and it's gripping me in weird places.
Yeah, you're a little underdressed today.
I don't know about that. Underdressed?
You're a little underdressed.
How am I underdressed?
That's like a shirt that you work out in, right?
Yeah.
That's like a dry fit shirt.
It is a dry fit
I don't wear
shirt.
workout clothes to the show. I have a brand to promote,
Okay.
so I want to make sure I wear something nice.
You wear Granimals.
I'm wearing just a nice polo shirt.
Here we are, Derek. It is, the final weekend in April, right?
Yeah.
The final week in April, I should
weird?
say. You know,
Is it because 2020 drags so much that 2021 just feels like it's flying
I'm the
right
other
by?
way around. Because everything's been moved around and other such things.
Yeah.
Like I, in my mind, I can't grasp that. I'm like, wait a minute, May hasn't happened yet, or because we just had the 500 like 7 months ago or whatever it was. It's just all very weird.
I don't know, man. Like I might be alone here. I don't know. I guess it's all relative, but I feel like Christmas was 2 weeks ago. Like I can't remember a winter that went by this quickly.
So I was just in St. Petersburg for IndyCar, right? Typically, I'm there during the NCAA tournament. The NCAA tournament
That'd be
is gone.
kinda
You know what I
surreal.
mean? So
Yeah,
I'm like,
that'd
wait a
be
minute.
weird.
Like, I'm like, it's April. Like, is it? I mean, I can't keep anything straight.
It was a little weird to see St. Pete and be like, wait, we're already a month into the baseball season.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like
Right.
that usually is kind of the mentally for
And I know
me
I
one
got
of the
sunburned.
spring kickoffs.
Typically, you make fun of me when I get sunburned.
You look fine. Your nose is a little shiny.
I
tip
put
of your
on-
nose.
and I put on the
Oh, I
SPF,
believe it. Yeah, I've
all of
seen
it.
you. I've seen you do that. You've actually asked me to do that, and
Just saying.
I don't
We
want to
didn't-
put suntan
well,
lotion
and-
on another grown man.
Plus, we didn't have a stepladder, so it was,
Okay, well, it's
Took care of
actually,
itself.
you can make the short joke if you want, but it's way creepier that you asked another grown man to do that for you.
little. Make sure I was balanced.
Okay.
We have a lot to talk about, including Derek. And how are you, by the way? Thank you, everyone, for tuning in or listening in once again to this program. My name is Jake Query, as we'd mentioned. That is Derek Schultz. And we have several sponsors that we should probably thank here as well. That
Of course,
includes-
yeah, that make this show possible.
Right.
Our friends at WGU Indiana, who have been with us, I think, since day one or just
Correct.
about. Yeah.
Correct. Ambition never rests. by the
Love
way.
Heating and Cooling. Chris and
Love
John
them.
Love. They've been around for over a generation. Couple of generations.
Love-HVAC.com.
Yep,
right?
that's right. 101 years now celebrating.
Chris and John haven't been around for 101, but the company has.
That's right. A new sponsor, or new-ish now. I think this is the third or fourth episode that we've had Chateau Kitchens on
they did
board.
your kitchen, right?
Stephen Moore and the rest of the group over there do a wonderful job. And we'll talk about all of these
Right.
places, of course,
American
as we
Dairy
continue.
Association of Indiana.
We love them, especially month of May. Can't
Yeah.
wait. We're doing the rookie luncheon this year with
That's right.
American Dairy Association Indiana as well, and the Shop Indy, which you can see the T-shirts right in front of you.
Fabulous T-shirts. The Reggie Miller one right here is fantastic, number 31.
It's great with the FloJo.
So we have the draft to get to. We have the month of May to get to. There's a lot to talk about. The Pacers, I guess, we'll mix in as well. But you would like to begin where?
I was actually kind of hoping that we'd start with the IMS stuff because
Okay.
it happened late last week, but we had been wondering for a long time. We knew that there was going to be a race and it was going to be in May, so there'd be a sense of normalcy there. But how many fans are you going to let in this thing?
Right.
Because there were a lot of people that thought, I was reading tweets in February, oh, well, we'll be full capacity. I'm thinking, not so fast, you guys. Like, I don't think, I never thought that they were going to be full capacity. 40% ends up being what they're going to allow. I thought it was going to be 50, but we're kind of splitting hairs at that point, right? 135,000 people is a lot of people still.
Here is what is, to me, what I took with interest, okay? And I want to make very clear, as I do oftentimes, folks, when I say this, it is true that I am a contracted I'm not an employee, but I'm a contractor with the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Inside info.
But honestly, kidding aside, I want to make very clear, if there are, I'm not privy to those meetings, so this is not like inside information, right?
Mm-hmm.
No, honestly, it's not, because Derek, people will take that seriously. It is not. Okay?
I'm busting your chops.
But I have to
I'm
be
busting your
very,
chops.
I have to be very clear in saying
Sure.
that. But what is interesting to me is when they came out and said, we are doing 40% capacity. Since I have been alive, when it comes to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and the aerial shots of the 500 and people talking about the 500, what has always been the number one question about the Indy 500 that no one knew an absolute
How many
answer?
seats are in that place? So how many actual people are in there? Yeah.
So there's only been 1 year where the Indianapolis 500 has said we are at capacity. We can, that's it. No more tickets, no more general admission, no more nothing.
2016, right?
In 2016. The attendance was never announced, but remember it was, well, it's roughly the size of South Bend and Evansville combined or something like that.
I had that number in my head for some reason.
So this year, they say we are doing 40% of capacity, which is 135,000 people. So 135,000 is 40% of what? That must tell us what the 2016 attendance is, because that's the only year where they have had a quote-unquote capacity. So now we know, at least in doing my math and deductive reasoning, that the attendance for the 2016 Indy 500 must have been 337,500.
I think you do have to, though, weigh into account, and I remember talking with Doug Bulls, the president of the Speedway, around that time. If I remember right, he said that they went to the fullest. You know how this may be a bad example. Jerry World in Dallas, I think they put in like 5,500 temporary seats as well.
Right.
I thought I remember Doug Bulls saying that they kind of played around with it, even like they were bursting at the gills, and they still added on to that until finally they were like, no mas.
Understood. So what I'm saying is, if the Marion County Board of Health, and again, I want to make very clear here, I'm not speaking on behalf of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. I'm simply from an outside observation making an assumption. If the Marion County Board of Health or whoever it was came to them and said, we will allow you 40% of your capacity.
They had to determine what their capacity was, yes. And that's what the
and
number
they
that
are
they came
going
up
to
with.
err on the most friendly side of attendance of what that would be. If they had tangible evidence that their capacity could be 400,000 people and they could get 160,000 for the Indy 500, they would have said 160,000 are coming.
Yeah.
So that leads me to believe that they basically went, when they had to show proof, their proof was 2016 of capacity, which would have been 337.5.
And you know me, Jake.
But regardless.
You know, when talking about this, look, I know that I can be pessimistic at times. I'm going to choose to look at this glass half full. We're having a race.
Correct.
It's going to be Memorial Day weekend. It's going to be loud. You're going to have the chance to go if you want to go. It's going to be great. You know what I mean? Like, I understand the people, well, why am I even doing this? I'm fully vaccinated, so why should I care? I get that it's an inconvenience and all of that, but just be happy that we're actually doing this. I
totally agree on all of that. And the one thing I will say for those, and I understand it, I love the Indianapolis 500 more than life itself. It is the number one civic celebration that makes me swell with pride, of this city, and everything about it comes out to me. I just love everything about it. This year, we are still a year away, Derek, from when you think about, I remember in 2016 and, all the years for Carb Day, coming in to do the show with you at 3 o'clock, and I've been out there since 11, and you're like, well, how many people are there? And I'm like, dude, it is a blank show, right? I mean, like, people are partying, they're tripping over each other, there's a concert, everybody's moving their way to turn 4 for the concert. The pit stop competition's going on. There's 80,000 along the straightaway left over from practice. I mean, it literally was, or has been, the whole encompassing event, all sensors, right? It's like sensory overload. This year, it's baby steps. In returning to that, you start out with the first thing, which is we need to make sure that people are able to witness a 500-mile race, and you're going to have the opportunity to come in and witness a 500-mile race. Is there going to be the Carb Day concert? No. Is there going to be the infield? No. The Coke lot? I don't think so. I don't know that. Are you camping out this year?
Oh, I've kind of grown out of that phase of my life, but I don't know if they're doing the Coke.
I don't know that they are. But those things, you can't have steps 2, 3. You can't have the auxiliaries without having the main entree.
It's still going to be the largest gathering of folks.
They just had an event in Australia with 80,000, and this is going to. It'd be 55 grand
And
more than that.
I do think, Jake, that there was, kind of what we were talking about earlier in the conversation about people saying, well, it's going to be full capacity. I think those same people think that, because it's 135,000, they're going to be turning away people at the door. I don't think
Yes,
I think they're taking what they think they can get out of this.
I think in the end, despite everything that I just said about the 337.5, and I still stand by, I think that means 337.5 is capacity. I think the 40% number may have been dictated largely by what the market was telling them.
My point is, I think just about everybody that wants to go to this thing is going to be able to go to this thing.
Correct.
And so that's why I was okay.
Now, the good news is you're going to be able to go to practice, right?
Yeah, which I can't wait. I mean, I sent out a tweet about that last week, but that's what I look forward to. No offense to Carb Day. If you're out there for the Carb Day debauchery, God love you. I have no problem with that. That's not my scene. It never really has been my scene, if we're being totally honest.
But you camped out. Now, the one year.
Yeah, the campouts have been fun, but Carb Day's never really been my scene.
You told me you were spending the night one year. You were camping out, and then I went down Georgetown, and you had on a Snuggie.
I did.
Those aren't still a thing, right?
Oh, yeah. I still have mine. Yep. Especially like right now, like early spring, it's great. You go out onto the porch, or sometimes I'll have my morning coffee, I'll get on my snug and go outside on the porch and drink coffee.
Okay. You had on
your sleeves, so you have full range of motion.
Well, you told me you were camping out in the Coke lot.
Mm-hmm.
This was 2015 probably. Hey, I'm camping in the Coke lot. Come by and see me.
Yeah.
Sure.
I think it was 2013, if I remember.
So we went and went to dinner, and then we were going to walk up and down Georgetown and soak in the environment and the atmosphere. And it's like 10:30. Mm-hmm. It was the night before the race.
Yep.
And you sent me a text that said, "Are you coming by the Coke lot?" And I said, "Yeah. I mean, at some point we'll make our way over there." And you said, "Well, hurry up because I'm getting ready to leave."
The overnight lows were dipping into the 30s that night.
Remember
the 2013 race was really cold. It was like 61 degrees on race day, I think. Well, I did have a Snuggie on, but they're pretty thin. I really should have
went
had
home.
Yeah.
So you didn't actually camp out on the Coke lot?
No, not that year. No.
Okay.
I stayed, had a couple limeritas, and then I think, was I still smoking then? No, okay.
I've never known you as a smoker.
So I was done smoking by then, but I sat it out for a while to make sure, because I had a decent amount of limeritas, but that was stretched out over the day. But I'm a small guy, so sometimes I have to make sure that everything's set before I go.
So are you
home.
going to the race this year?
Yes.
You are going to go to the race?
If I'm like 95% sure that my credentials are going to go through, and that's how I'm going to attend the race. But I'm definitely going to take my son out, my 4-year-old out to practice and go out with my dad and my wife. Yeah.
I mean, it's the best. I mean, It's just the whole month. It is. And I think, Derek, for me, it goes back to when I was a kid, and it really was the only show in town. And there was such a pride of being from Indianapolis over the fact that all of a sudden we were relevant. The city was relevant for a month every year. And that recaptures and reignites in me every year in the month of May.
Yeah, there's, kind of piggybacking on that. I remember going around downtown. I think you were with me, actually. We were walking around downtown. We had done the show on Radio Row for the Super Bowl in 2012. And we were on, like, Washington Street. And I'm just looking around, and I'm like, this is happening here? Like, this is Indianapolis? Yeah. This is crazy. And it's kind of like living that every single year, where you just look around at the sea of humanity. And I look, again, I know things are going to be different this year, but I'm just happy that we're having it, because last year in August, it was just so weird. I mean, I was in the Target parking lot, like, listening to the radio call. I was like, what is this? This isn't race day?
You didn't enjoy listening to the radio
I had
call?
actually, you know what? I had never heard you guys go around the bend and give kind of your personal shout-outs, which I thought was really cool. I had no idea that you guys did that.
What do you mean?
Because right before the start of the race, Mark Janes kind of did like a check-in. And let's go to turn 1, or let's go to turn 2, and let's go to Jake Query in turn 3. And you gave a shout out to somebody. I know that, Scott is listening at home, and I really appreciate, Scott says that his dad passed away this year, and he wanted to make sure, and you guys all kind of did something like that. And when you're doing that, I'm already in my seat at that point. You know what I mean? I'm not listening to the radio call anymore. So I'd never gotten the chance to hear that before, but I did, given the circumstances last year, I listened to the whole race via radio.
Yeah, it was weird last year, but the one thing,
it was August, wasn't it? I'm trying to even remember.
Yeah.
Okay.
The one thing that to me was so weird about last year, aside from the no fans, and it goes without saying, not having fans there was odd. But once the race starts, you're just looking at the track and you're not really paying attention to the atmosphere, right? After the first, I probably told you this before, but after the first, so it goes green and we're doing the race. This is last year for the broadcast with no one in the stands. Mm-hmm. And the first couple laps hit, and I think to myself, oh my goodness. And we finally went to a commercial break, lap 10 or whatever. And I get on the intercom with Nick Yeoman and Chris Denary and Michael Young, and all four of us are saying the same thing. I can't hear anything. I couldn't hear Michael in turn 2 throwing to me, and I couldn't hear to Denary how he's picking up from me throwing to him in 4. And Derek, it was so funny to me that none of us had ever thought about how the crowd absorbs the noise of the cars. And with all of that aluminum.
Oh, so the cars were louder.
All that aluminum, there's nothing to absorb the noise, and so the noise is bouncing off all that aluminum and amplifying it times 10. And then the Brickyard, my goodness.
Oh.
Brutal.
And that's a dirty, loud sound, you know?
Yeah. Totally different sounds, but it's really loud, yeah. But at any rate, so did you have a good weekend?
Yeah, we went to Columbus, Ohio. Mm-hmm. I was told I have to specify Columbus, Ohio, because there's a Columbus, Indiana.
That's fair.
Somebody on Twitter said, it's kind of like Nashville. I'm like, well, what do you mean? He's like, well, there's a Nashville, Indiana. I'm like, there's like 50 people in Nashville, Indiana.
Yeah, but Nashville, Indiana is a tourist spot.
But if you're telling me, you know, if I went to Nashville for the weekend, I would hope you would know what I meant.
Unless it's October.
Okay. Well, it's not. It's April.
But if it was October and you said, it depends on where you were going. If you said, you know what, I had a fabulous breakfast this weekend in Nashville, I would think you meant Nashville, Indiana. Okay. I mean, but if you said we went for the weekend to go listen to live music, I would know you meant Nashville, Tennessee.
We went to the zoo in Columbus, which is awesome. It's
Jack Hanna
our favorite.
Was there forever.
Yeah, it's our favorite zoo, and just kind of hung out. We like to do little weekend trips.
What animals do they have in the Columbus Zoo that they do not have in the Indianapolis Zoo?
You know what? I'm not sure. I'm not sure what they have there.
Why aren't you an expert on?
They have a sloth, and I know Indy recently got a sloth,
right.
But that wasn't always the case. We went a couple of years ago to the Columbus.
Do they happen to have an owl?
Yeah, they had giant white pelicans as well.
I saw plenty of those in St. Pete.
Awful.
The owl, of course, the official mascot of WGU, WGU.edu, because as you know, ambition never rests. Owl's nocturnal. Yeah. So, for example, for your schedule, if you want to work in a degree, whether it be undergraduate or whatever it might be, WGU is able to do that for you on your schedule. If you are like me and you're nocturnal, or like Sage the owl, you're good to go.
But it's a good zoo. My kid's not really interested in the animals. He likes the displays that have buttons, and then he likes the areas where you can climb on stuff.
Okay.
Which is fine. But, you think at the zoo you'd like the animals a little bit more. And we're always like, hey, buddy, there's a lion. Oh, okay. Just busting on through.
Is it a bigger zoo than Indianapolis?
Oh, yeah, it's huge. Yeah.
It is?
Yeah, it's large.
Is it? How much is it?
Price-wise?
Yeah.
$23. We actually just got a membership because we went Friday and Saturday. So it's one of those things where if you go twice or more, then it's worth it. And you get 50% off at the Cincy Zoo and a lot of other zoos.
Do you?
And there's no sky ride.
I was going to say, do they have a sky ride?
No sky ride.
Does Indy still have the sky ride?
Technically, I think it still exists. I don't know if anybody's brave enough to get on that thing.
Okay, fair enough. Mm-hmm. The St. Petersburg race, did you watch any of it over the course of the weekend?
No, because I was driving back while that was happening.
You were listening to it?
Yeah. No, we weren't. I think we were listening to Beyonce's Lemonade on the way back.
Beyonce's Lemonade?
Yeah, it was the 5-year anniversary of Beyonce releasing Lemonade, so we listened to that.
Okay.
Yeah. Our son was asleep, so I don't think he absorbed a lot of the lyrics.
He would have loved to have listened to the race from St. Petersburg, just so you know.
Maybe. Yeah.
Dominant performance from Colton Herta.
Yeah, and it's been great. Now you're coming off the Alex Palou win, and now Colton Herta wins, and you're like, hey, wait a minute.
Right.
I mean, Will Power, Scott Dixon, all the, Joseph Newgarden, all these guys will eventually have their place here, but it's great to see the really young crop of young stars.
That's fair.
For IndyCar emerge here in the early going.
We only have, Derek, another 3 days before we get to mock draft 208, right?
Ugh. We'll talk about the Colts drafts because we have to talk about the Colts drafts.
Okay.
I am happy that I like the NFL draft. Like I do.
Cool.
I think it's become ridiculously overemphasized and over the top.
I have a beef with the draft.
It's not going to be the crowd size thing, is it?
No, don't even get me started on that.
Yeah, because I don't want to do. We did that with the radio. I don't want to do that on the TV show.
Is there any doubt now that I have been proven
podcast.
correct in that?
No, I think you were right.
Yeah.
One of the few things, actually, that you've been right about.
But you agree with me on that,
so we should
right?
harp on that a little bit.
Okay.
Colts draft and what they might do when it comes to Thursday, Friday, and the rest of the weekend action there. Also, Pacers we have to talk about, and I feel like there was something
I like
else.
how you say we have to talk about it.
Oh, yeah, you and your heart doctor did something that was kind of relevant and cool, so we'll talk about that too.
Well, that's nice of you.
Well, it's just anytime you do anything.
More so than when you're driving to Target and I'm on the radio?
Well, anytime you do anything, it's like, WTHR's got to send 5 vans over and get the camera crews up. Jake's talking. He's doing something. And I'm just like, I do stuff. Like, why doesn't anybody want to send a TV crew?
You do a lot of things. You're becoming quite the ubiquitous media star.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Why? So send the crews out.
Okay.
Let's talk about Schultz Media LLC a little bit.
By the way, I bought a Powerball ticket. I haven't checked it yet. So we'll see whether or not I make it on the other side of the break.
I didn't even know that was a thing still.
Let me tell you something. We'll know it's a thing if you come back and I'm not here.
It's Corey and Schultz, ISC Sports Network. Stick around.
We're a different breed, aren't we? While others rest, we choose to work. Where others are content, we stay hungry. They may not see us coming, but we know exactly where we're going. You won't rest until you succeed. Neither will we.
You can't get enough of us.
You can't get enough of us. Good one, J-Man.
This is the worst scandal. This
This is worse than steroid. Not so fast.
Are you going to watch the XFL?
I'll probably watch a little bit of it.
You want to go through and pick some games?
No, I don't. No, I don't. I really don't.
Indiana dairy farmers provide us with safe, pure foods for our tables. A responsibility that takes intuition, resolve, and determination to make sure their milk is good for you and delicious to taste. Their connection with our community runs deep, passed down through the generations, ensuring that milk is always available at your store. It's not easy being a dairy farmer, but the rewards have special meaning when you can feed Indiana's families every single day. Learn more at winnersdrinkmilk.com.
Oh my God! We are ripping fast today.
How hard can it be, right?
These are now selling for about $3,500. So we're back to our old ways of pulling rocks.
Act like idiots on camera, open cards, and talk about the hobby.
Welcome back. It's Corey and Schultz here on ISC Sports Network alongside Jake Query, chugging soft drinks.
I had one number.
I'm Derek Schultz.
I got one number right.
On your Powerball?
Yeah.
Oh, wait, it's already happened? I thought you had it for tonight.
No, I had this laying around. I'd bought it like last week. I had one number. Sometimes if I'm in like really remote areas, if I'm in the middle of nowhere, I think, ooh, you know what? I should buy a Powerball here because this is where they always buy the winning ticket. Like it's never like
the
winning ticket's never bought at a grocery store in Manhattan. You know what I mean? It's always a feed store in Manhattan, Iowa.
No, you're kind of right about that. Yeah.
So
there is a Manhattan, Kansas, isn't there? Is that where K-State is?
Where K-State is, yep.
I didn't know how many Manhattans there were. This portion of the show.
Well, you had 6 of them when we were at the Final Four that night.
You keep saying that.
No, that's exactly what you had.
I was drinking.
I was driving back
whiskey
to the hotel from IndyCar when we were at the Final Four, I think in New Orleans, and I got a hold of Derek and said, "So what are you doing?" And you said, "I've had 5 Manhattans." And I got back and you picked a fight with a guy. And then I went back up to the room because I didn't want any grief, and I came back to the room, and you had ripped off the "Do Not Disturb" sign off his door, spiked it in the ground, and said, "That'll teach you to mess with Derek Schultz."
These are all lies. Like I don't know where any of this came from.
Okay.
I had whiskey and Coke waiting for you.
Is your memory hazy?
I met a guy that was a producer at ESPN New York, and we were talking about like the Knicks or something. Mm-hmm. And then you showed up, and the dude had the door was closing on his head. He was passed out in the threshold of the DoubleTree in New Orleans. He was like a 17-year-old kid.
He was.
And then we went out and saw the methed up pizza cook, went out on Bourbon Street with the entire state of Kentucky because Louisville and UK were both in the Final Four, and had a good time.
and a few Manhattans.
Hey, you had a couple of drinks too.
A beer, probably.
I've never ever
I had a
actually
hurricane.
seen
I had a
you.
hurricane.
Yeah, I've never seen you intoxicated. But you are the fastest drinker that I've ever seen before.
The fastest consumer of liquids.
Like, you'll have a beer like this, like a big, tall glass, whatever, and you'll take it in 3 sips, seemingly.
Yeah.
Which is weird. So I'm not.
You're more.
I can't really do that.
You're more of the Kermit the Frog with your Manhattan. You were saying that this segment brought to us by WGU,
Yeah,
right?
before you called me a drunkard.
Did not call you
WGU
drunk.
Indiana, where ambition never rests, and you can
That's
get
correct.
your online degree. And they actually just had their giving day. We'd sent out a couple of tweets on social about that, and a couple of people responded saying, hey, I got my degree and certification from WGU Indiana. It was a great experience, and you can check out all that they have to offer as well, wgu.indiana.edu.
Indiana's largest online accredited university. Derek, let's talk about the NFL draft. I think we now know that the number 1 pick is going to be Trevor Lawrence to Jacksonville. There seems to be, typically when a guy is a can't miss number 1, you start hearing about or seeing reasons why maybe that should be questioned. There doesn't seem to be a lot about Lawrence that falls into. He strikes me as a guy that is kind of a cross between Peyton Manning in terms of his size and his record and his, just his knowledge of the game, and Andrew Luck, because he's versatile, he can run, and he has, and this is the part that is a little bit, but he has interests outside of football. Like, football doesn't define Trevor Lawrence. And if you're Jacksonville, I can see how that gives you a little bit of pause, but you still got to go for it.
Yeah, the intrigue really starts at 3 because 1 and 2, we know it's going to be Lawrence and then Zach Wilson. Those are going to be the first 2 picks of the draft. What San Francisco does at 3, they traded up to get there, is the real intrigue because we've assumed for a long time it's going to be Fields, and then you hear, oh, well, they really love Mac Jones, and now you're hearing, well, it's between Mac Jones and Trey Lance, but who knows what to take seriously, Jake,
think
because there's
Lance-
all this information
I think
that's
Trey
coming out.
Lance is really intriguing. He didn't play the year because of the COVID stuff, right? Not because he had COVID, but his school didn't play, right?
North Dakota?
North Dakota.
Yeah.
Didn't participate.
Or is it state,
North
right?
Dakota State.
Sorry.
Yeah. But he's also like 6'4.5", right?
Yeah.
Has good size, athletic. It's interesting, and I don't want to I'm assuming that I'm okay in saying this. As you know, Derek, one of my good buddies in high school is Jason Venturi, whose dad is NFL guru Rick Venturi, who Rick Venturi's life is the draft. I mean, he breaks down every scout. Well, Rick Venturi lives in St. Petersburg. I mean, has a place near St. Petersburg. And so since we were down there for the race, he reached out to me, hey, come by here. Let's hang out. We'll sit by the beach. So I went on Friday before I had to go to the track and spent about 3 hours just sitting literally. I mean, their place is literally on the beach. It's pretty awesome. And we were just shooting the bull, not much about football, but it did come up. But one of the things that came up was talking about the draft. And Rick Venturi, again, who was a D coordinator for a gabillion years, right?
Yeah.
Told
40
me,
years in football.
Right. He's like, man, I'm really intrigued by Lance. He actually told me that he likes him as much as Wilson and Fields.
Wow.
That he thinks he's his high side.
Yeah.
But there's question there, right?
Well, the high side, that's what you're weighing here because you've got, especially with somebody like Mac Jones, where you feel like you've got a guy that is going to play at an admirable level, but his floor might be higher than some of these other ones, but his ceiling is not as high. I always say this whenever we talk about the draft. I'm not a scout. I don't pretend to be a scout. I watched a decent amount of Justin Fields and a decent amount of Mac Jones because they were on two of the most prominent programs in the country. I'd be lying to you if I said that I watched a lot of Trey Lance because I didn't.
Right. Fair. Or Wilson, probably for that
I
matter,
just
right?
don't know, even if Mac Jones is the most intelligent prospect ever in NFL quarterback prospect history, I just don't know how you would watch Mac Jones and watch Justin Fields and be like, yeah, you know what, Mac Jones is the guy I'm taking. I just don't know how you would do that. And we'll see what the Niners end up doing here. But what bothers me about this draft process, Jake, is that, a couple of months ago, a lot of the mocks had Mac Jones going to the Colts at 21. Now suddenly he's the third pick in the draft?
Right.
What changed? He hasn't played.
Right.
Okay, well, he did this at his pro day. Who cares? Pro day is like the state-run television of NFL prospects because you've got guys with stopwatches that are clicking it early, or whatever
Right.
else. It's almost like they're fudging the numbers. It's a controlled atmosphere. I'm not getting that conspiracy. Fudging the numbers. I don't want people to take that
No, I
and run
get
with
what
it.
you're
It's
saying.
a controlled
I get what
atmosphere.
you're saying.
It's different.
There's not a single person probably running the Niners that was there when Bill Walsh was there, right?
Yeah, probably not. I don't
But the
know.
fan base is the same,
Yeah.
for the most part. Sometimes we become creatures of habit or what we are most familiar with, okay? So fans of the San Francisco 49ers, if they are of a certain age, my age or older, granted, but the older guard that's been around it for a long time, they are used to it. There are people in San Francisco that have been fans of the 49ers that would debate until the cows come home that Joe Montana is the greater quarterback and the more superior quarterback to Brett Favre or Peyton Manning or Tom Brady. Joe Montana was a rhythm, perfectly in sync, put the ball where it needs to be quarterback. He wasn't necessarily a guy that was going to scramble, throw across his body, the whole deal, right? It was drop back, perfect throwing motion, right there where Jerry Rice needs it, right there where John Taylor needs it. Then you have other quarterbacks that are Brett Favre, improvise, love the bravado of the guy, like broken down play, who cares? He's going to throw across his body, hit you from 50 yards and put it where it needs to be. Oh, my goodness, just wowzers. And it makes you forget the 2 or 3 plays that he made a mistake, and you go, what is he doing? That's why, just from a brand standpoint, whether it's even applicable or not, the San Francisco 49ers, Mac Jones would be more the mold of what the 49ers are branded with. Fields would be more the mold or branded of an Elway, or you know what I mean? He is more of a look. I think Fields is immensely talented. I mean, I watched him throw for 6,000 yards against Clemson and 74 touchdowns.
Yeah.
I mean, so I get it, but I do think that I know it sounds crazy. The Niners needed a quarterback a couple years ago. What did they do? They went and got a guy that was the heir apparent of Tom Brady, rhythm guy, pinpoint passer, not necessarily, Mr. Excitement. And I think Garoppolo's a good player. I don't know that the Niners are as in need of a franchise quarterback as seemingly everybody, the Niners included, thinks they are. Garoppolo got hurt, and maybe that's part of it. And he did regress a little bit. But I just, there are question marks apparently about Fields from an approach standpoint. I think that's unfair. Clearly the results were there, right?
Yeah, and I just think like in the Niners case with Garoppolo, we're at a point now where either you have your guy or you don't, and you can't wait, and Garoppolo's given them enough of a sample size where they say, look, he's okay. He's never going to be great. We want a great quarterback. And they could say whatever they want. You don't trade up the way that they did as aggressively as they did at number 3 unless you're planning to replace him.
If you are the Colts,
they can say whatever they want about that.
If you're the Colts and you are on the clock, and I don't know that the Colts are going to be on the clock. They draft what, 21st?
Yeah.
I don't know they're going to be on the clock at 21. It wouldn't surprise me if they parlay that 21 into the 56th and 71st picks. That's kind of in Chris Ballard's.
They only have 2 picks in the first 125.
See,
21 and 54.
Wouldn't surprise if they try to flip. That would be my prediction. If people ask me who the Colts going to draft, my answer to you is they're going to take that first pick and turn it into a couple of more picks in the first 150. But for the sake of discussion, if they're sitting there at 21 and on the clock, on the board available, are a left tackle and a pass rusher that grade equally for what they do respectively, which one do you take?
The edge is harder to find. This is the edge is harder to find, and B, this is apparently, according to everybody, a ridiculously deep tackle draft, like where it goes 8, 9, 10 deep.
Right.
So I think edge is the answer. But the problem is that there don't seem to be a lot of great edge prospects. Right. So I don't know if the Colts can force it at that spot.
The areas where you think the Colts have the least concern because they have the best coverage of it right now would be where?
I think running back, you're pretty
Correct.
set
Correct.
at this point. Their linebackers, as far as 2021 is concerned, are set. A lot of those guys are entering contract years, though, and you got to kind of figure that out. But those are the two areas where I feel really good about where they're at defensive line-wise on the interior. It's the edge spots and the pass rush that I kind of concern about. But those are the ones that kind of jump out to me.
The area where I feel pretty good about it, that I think they have, but the problem is you can never have too many, is defensive backs. I like what they have, and I feel like they have, maybe they don't have a breakout, they don't have Deion Sanders, right? They don't have Ronnie Lott back there. But I think they have good pieces. The problem is, Derek, you just can never have too many. What have I said 100 times on this show? Offensive linemen and defensive backs are sunglasses and cell phone chargers. You can never have too many.
Well, the three things that they will definitely emerge from this draft class with, whether they have 6 picks or 10 picks, whatever they – because I agree with you, they're going to trade down. The three things that they will emerge with, at least one of, a tackle, some sort of an edge rusher, and a cornerback. Those are the three things that they definitely will. I would normally have said wide receiver, but it seems that Ballard emphasizes that position less. But apparently this is a good wide receiver draft again as well.
With receiver, Derek, when you think about the Colts receiving core, because we talk so much about – I liked what I saw out of Pittman, right? And they bring back T.Y. Hilton, and I think we know that that's probably in a mentoring type role as much as your on-field production you're going to get from him. What we don't talk about is Paris Campbell. Assuming that he stays healthy, big assumption, that's something that we've almost completely forgotten about. He was a high draft pick for them that's waiting in the wing, right?
Yeah, but even if he's healthy, he might stink. We don't know.
Why aren't you Mr. Optimism?
Well, this is what we do with the Colts wide receiver depth chart every year. I remember like a couple of years ago we were saying, Reese Fountain and Deion Kane and then, Devin Funchess.
And then
Funchess breaks his collarbone like 5 seconds into week 1. Deion Kane gets hurt in training camp. Campbell is permo hurt, right? He's always hurt.
And then what happens every year with the Colts, but all the way back to like the Jesse Hester years, is in week 11 they pluck some guy up the free agency wire that leads
Doolin,
him.
Zach Pascal, and whoever else that ends up being. So I really feel like that's an area where they need to add a couple of more bodies. And the other thing too about that is Hilton is just on a 1-year deal. And so, what are your, outside of Pittman and you hope Campbell, what are your long-term options there?
Who was the guy in Peyton Manning's rookie year? Marvin Harrison got hurt. And they had signed a journeyman from the Eagles that put up like huge numbers. And you're like, at receiver. He was like a 1 or 2 year flyer that paid off huge dividends and then rode off in the sunset. Rakestar will know. Who was that?
I wasn't following the Colts really until college years, so the 2000s. So 98, I wouldn't know.
This is going to drive me nuts. Can you look up the 99 Colts? 98 Colts.
Okay.
Marvin Harrison separated his shoulder. And then all of a sudden, and I want to say the guy's first name started with a T. And as soon as you say it, you're going to go, oh, people are going to know. Rakestar knows. Torrance Small. Thank you.
See, I didn't even have to look it up.
Yeah. Torrance Small is the prime example, right, of a guy that nobody at the beginning of the year was talking about Torrance Small, and then boom. I remember they drafted Peyton, and then, Derek, if you get this, I'll be impressed. What receiver did the Colts draft in the same, 2 of them, the same draft as Peyton Manning?
E.J. Green?
Say that again?
E.J. Green?
No, sir.
Jerome Pathon?
Correct. Who was the second?
Was E.J. Green a wide receiver? Do you know who I'm talking about?
I do.
Okay. And another receiver that they drafted in 98.
If I was Alex Trebek, rest his soul, I would say, ooh, no, that's incorrect.
Brad Pyatt.
Also a good guess.
Colorado
State's Brad Pyatt, who opened up the Tampa Bay Bucks Monday Night Miracle with I believe, a kickoff return that opened things up.
Hit me with it.
E.G. Green.
So I was right.
No, you said E.J. Green.
Okay, well, but I was right. Like I knew the 2 people.
It's E.G. Green.
Yeah, but I was right. Like I knew who the 2 people were.
Derek, if you were looking for someone named E.J. and their name was actually E.G., and you went to them and said, you are the person I'm looking for, you are EJ, they'd say, no, I'm EG, and you would be incorrect.
Yeah, but essentially I knew in my brain, I might not have had the second initial correct, but I knew who those two players were.
If you just said Green, I would have said yes. But you did not. You said EJ, and it's EG.
But you have to give me credit because technically I did know who those two guys were.
What school?
Miami?
See? Again.
Florida.
Ooh.
FIU. Ooh. FAU.
Ooh.
Boca Raton Community College. It's somewhere in Florida.
That is correct. It is, yes.
Florida State.
That is correct. Florida State, yes. Kathy Beatrice is slapping you upside the head that you went through every single school. Central Florida, South Florida, Stetson. No, it's Florida State. Destin Community College.
I had a buddy, Jamie, who went to like Boca Raton, some college in Boca Raton.
Isn't
that
there
was
an
basically a community college.
There's an air and space school or a flight school in Boca Raton.
And I think he just smoked all semester and he came back home in like 6 months, and that was it.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
He had a Saab Turbo, which you may laugh at this. It's the fastest car. It was so quick, and it was a 5-speed, and that thing just. We would play Fish live shows that his brother had burned on a Discman with an adapter on it,
right?
And drive around in the Saab.
Was that all his brother was burning?
I'm not going to comment on the rest of it, but he had a Saab Turbo, and it was a 5-speed, and we used to listen to Fish live shows.
I always thought, by the way, and then we'll move along with the show, but Saabs back in the day, the mid-'90s Saabs. The design of them actually, to me, always looked like the orthopedic shoes you got after foot surgery.
They were not very sleek.
The shape of them.
Yeah.
What else do we have to get to? We have several features to get to, correct?
Yeah, we have to do that. Pacer stuff.
Okay.
We have to get to, and I don't remember. We haven't talked about like the human interest story involving you from last week.
Okay. And we're doing that when? Before or after our segments?
Sometime during the show, Jake. That's the point of a tease. You don't tell them exactly when it's going to be.
But
you want to
when you
keep
do a
people
tease
around.
in television, Derek, you say, when we return.
Okay, you were in
you lay
TV.
out, is it the American Dairy Association
20
Winners
years
Drink
ago.
Milk Winner of the Week? That could be what it is. Is it the Love HVAC, Love Heating and Air Conditioning, Love That Play? That's possible. Is it the Buy It or Bull Schultz, brought to you by the Shop Indy, 920 Broad Ripple Avenue and Clay Terrace? Maybe that's what it is.
Like current high school, maybe even college students would have no memory of you ever being a television personality.
Derek, people 50 have no memory of me being a
So
television
I'm just
personality.
saying, you always do this with TV. It's like when we do the Wish appearances together. You guys have seen us on Sports Locker before. Sometimes Jake and I, last time we did it together, Jake's always like, so we doing like a 2-shot here? We doing like a, so am I on 2? Am I on 3? And he's like looking at all the cameras, and I'm like, so you were basically you got sandwiches for Ed Sorensen for a couple of years, and now you know everything that there is to know about TV.
Actually, he liked White Castle chicken rings.
Oh man!
and a large Dr. Pepper with a lot of ice.
I had a buddy that used to get a 10-sack, and then he'd get chicken rings as well, and he'd put the individual chicken rings on the burger, each of the 10 burgers.
White Castle's good, man.
It's not good the next day.
It's good.
Or even that night.
All right, so we got something to get to.
Features, more stuff. Jake almost died, if you guys didn't know that already. People keep wanting to bring it up, so we'll talk about that as well. It's Query and Schultz, ISC Sports Network.
Indiana Dairy Farm, long workdays stretch into more labor after sunset. A newborn calf needs watching. Barn needs cleaning. Tractor needs some handiwork for tomorrow's tasks. Just like in your own home, the day's chores are never done until the family beds down for the night. Dairy farmers and their families share the same dream with all of us, that what we all do is worthwhile. Bringing to market pure, safe, and healthy dairy foods is what they do, from Indiana's dairy families to ours every single day. Learn more at winnersdrinkmilk.com.
You're watching Query and Schultz on the ISC Sports Network.
We're a different breed, aren't we? While others rest, we choose to work. Where others are content, we stay hungry. They may not see us coming, but we know exactly where we're going. You won't rest until you succeed. Neither will we.
Your life is on the go. Now your viewing habits can be on the go. With the ISC Sports Network app, your team is at your fingertips. You can download years' worth of content from the ISC Sports Network library. High school, college, special events, weekly and monthly shows, wherever you find your favorite app. And you can always find out more information at iscsportsnetwork.com.
Along here on another edition. I think this is the Patrick Ewing episode.
Is it really?
33. Query and Schultz. I think that's right. Jake Morris and I were talking about it earlier, and he's like, is this 32? And I was like, I think it's 34. And then we went back and looked, and it's 33.
Hang on. If it's the Patrick Ewing, sorry for opening this up on the air. It's kind of gross.
Yeah, it's really loud and annoying.
Well, hold on. Oh, darn it. There's no cubed ice in there. Do you have anything? Do you have a freezer nearby?
There's one in the break room.
Okay. Good. Put that in there.
Oh, frozen envelope? Yeah.
Because
anything that's bad that's ever happened to the
Patrick
Pacers,
Ewing
it's a
show, so
conspiracy.
therefore we're going to freeze the envelope.
Pacers have never lost before. It's rigged. This portion of the show brought to you by our friends at Chateau Kitchens. Stephen Moore, who's the owner over there, he was like, hey, I love that you guys do the milk facts, and you have the information sheet. Yeah, milk. Of all the, what is it, 2 cups of or 10 cups of raw spinach for potassium or sodium or whatever it is. So he gave me a Chateau Kitchens fact sheet, info sheet.
I'm hoping that you know it and profess it and explain
Well,
it
I have my
with
own
a far more credible
personal
expertise
story.
than you do the flippant nature in which you read the milk facts, which are critically important for the American Dairy Association of Indiana.
Yeah, the sodium's not right. I always say sodium, but that's not even – you wouldn't want the sodium,
You wouldn't want
right?
sodium. That's correct.
But I have my own personal experience with Chateau, which was amazing. They came and redid our kitchen a couple of years ago, and Victoria, their designer, did a great job, and we had a project manager named Ryan who was awesome and with us every step of the way. So I've shared that the last couple of weeks, but there are also some other facts that I can get to on here. Like Chateau Kitchens, each of their cabinetry lines offer a wide range of design options, door styles, and finishes. Individual design services are provided with each cabinetry order and professional installation, which is what, of course, we had by their in-house installers.
You loved it.
It's a great kitchen.
I think you told me
it was
actually,
a life-changing kitchen.
You know, the one thing I remember you telling me about that when they came in to do your kitchen was you said, yeah, it's kind of a cross here because, like, you had this mix of emotions because you were thrilled at how efficiently they did it, but you were kind of disappointed that they were done because you kind of enjoyed having them around because they were, like, totally cool people when they were inside your house and doing it, right?
Yeah, they were, for sure. And we had, it's kind of an invasive thing when you have home remodeling where other people are in your house all the time, and we were, like, making dinners down in the basement with the microwave, but they were super friendly guys. My dog actually liked them, and he hates everybody.
He liked me.
Yeah, he does, and he likes you as well. ChateauKitchens.com. Also, follow them on Instagram and see some of their before and after pictures, which is a lot of fun. At Chateau Kitchens, Facebook as well, where they post some of that stuff.
When I was in high school, I remember for junior prom, I will not say the name of the individual, but I asked him where he was taking his date to junior prom. And he said, Chattier, he said, we're going to that place. It's now like, it became, I think, what's the seafood, Joe's Crab Shack, which is no longer there either.
Yeah.
At 82nd and Dean. But he said, I'm taking my girlfriend to Chattier Normandy.
Ooh.
And I said, you mean Chateau Normandy?
Yeah, Francais.
So I've always remembered how to spell chateau, as in Chateau Kitchens, because it's Chattier. And I mean, I kind of laughed at it at the time, but I've never forgotten how to spell chateau.
Don't throw any stones from your glass house, because last week on the show you called dysentery or something.
I think that's right. No.
And cholera instead of cholera.
It wasn't dysentery.
You got dysentery wrong too. Dysentery wrong too. Sorry, you were saying it incorrectly. It
was.
You got both of those diseases wrong.
Was cholera, right?
You got cholera and dysentery wrong.
What'd I say? Chloria?
It was so bad.
Which one's correct?
I don't remember. It's cholera.
Okay.
If you've played Oregon Trail, you know what these things are. And I'm surprised because you're in that age range.
I did play Oregon Trail.
Well, you should be disappointed.
One of my most
you obviously didn't retain any of that.
One of my most viral tweets of all time was Oregon was playing North Carolina in the NCAA tournament. I think it was in the Sweet 16 or Elite 8.
2016?
Somewhere in there. And Oregon
Actually, that might have been 2017.
North Carolina missed like 5 free throws in the final 30 seconds and got the offensive rebound like on every one of them. And ended up beating Oregon. And I sent a picture of the little computer image of a wagon and then just put, "You have died by not boxing out." And I mean, it went crazy. And I'm like, I guess a lot of people do remember Oregon Trail.
I don't know why you get retweeted at all, honestly. People just
Very creative.
a lot of like really bad jokes, and I'm like,
Very creative.
This has 218 retweets. I'm like,
Very
a
creative.
reach of 500,000 people saw this thing. My God. Time for our Love That Play, brought to you by our friends at Love Heating and Cooling, love-hvac.com, 353-2141. It says it right on the graphic. Family owned and operated since 1920, so over 100 years in business.
And you last that long in business simply, very simply, by having great product, a knowledge of that product, great prices, goes without saying, and a commitment to customer service. That's what you get from Love Heating and Air Conditioning. I've known them my whole life. I would not steer you folks wrong. Love-HVAC.com, 353-2141. Derek, your nominee for
I'm going
Love
to pick
That
a
Play.
baseball one. I thought this
Okay.
was pretty cool because I remember I'm starting to get old enough now where I remember the dads playing careers of some of these players. But Fernando Tatis Jr. homered twice at Dodger Stadium. In fact, he did that, I think, in back-to-back games. But specifically on the anniversary of his dad hitting back-to-back grand slams in the same inning at Dodger Stadium.
Oh, that was the Dodger Stadium
Against
when he did
Chan Ho
that?
Park, against the same pitcher. In 1999?
Why would they have had Chin Ho Park stay in there?
Yeah, I don't know. To just get blasted like that. And Channel Park was a pretty good pitcher.
was.
He had a nice career.
He was.
I think he made an all-star game or two, if I'm not mistaken. But I don't know. I just thought that was
Fernando Tatis.
that was kinda cool.
You know what's interesting to me about Fernando Tatis Jr., Derek, is he's batting like 230, but he's an electric player.
I think.
But
and
he hasn't really gotten it going.
We talked about this before. Like things, these old numbers like batting average and all of that, I think are going to get reevaluated here because it's become so pitcher driven. Like don't get me wrong, like what DeGrom is doing is amazing, but it's almost like we're in just this strikeout era where if you're not striking out, if you're an elite pitcher and you're not striking out 12 a night, then what are you even doing?
It's funny you mentioned that because I remember, I think it was 3 years ago, I was at a Dodger game in Dodger Stadium and looking up at, they were playing I think the Diamondbacks. Diamondbacks are the Giants. And I looked up at the rosters and the stats that they had on the big screen. And I remember sending a tweet, clearly showing kind of my naivete towards baseball today because I'm going off of my childhood when I could have told you like the top 10 batters, you know. And I'm like, wait, I'm at a major league game, and there's only one player in the game batting over 300. It floored me. And people were like, yeah, dude, like batting titles now are won by people batting 315. You know, and I grew up watching, again, old man here, but, you know, Gwynn and Boggs and, you know, guys that were batting 330, 340. Just don't see it, I guess.
Yeah,
right?
no, I mean, when I hit for the Triple Crown in 98 in the Trouble Wiffle Ball League, I batted 525. So I was, you know, way over that line. And
the Triple Crown?
Yeah.
How many home runs did you hit?
21.
How many ribs?
We only played 10 games.
Do you think it's weird that people say RBIs? It's really just RBI.
Yeah.
It's runs batted in.
I don't think
it's not runs batted ins.
Weird because I'm so used to it.
It's
you
like
know what I mean?
Kroger's.
Yeah. It's just kind of one of those things. People call it that, so I'm fine with that. Whatever.
What did you get for winning the Trumbull Wiffle Ball League Triple Crown?
Well, we were in talks with doing trophies, year-end awards, but it was supposed to be, well, in Fairfield there was an award shop where, you know, you'd make your own awards, and it was supposed to be a kitty where everybody threw in, but I won both MVP and Executive of the Year, and people didn't want to throw in for just trophies that were going to go to me. So we never ended up collecting. I put in my $10, but no one else put in their 10. So
how many years did you do this league?
Money. 3 years. We got halfway through the 2000 season, and then people started bringing beer over. And my parents said, no mas.
Really?
Yeah. They don't want, 17-year-olds and beer and all that.
That's the whole wiffle ball league experience, is it not?
Yeah, yeah. And
Did you
kids would smoke in the woods, too, but my parents were far enough away where they didn't see that happening. Yeah. I never did because I wanted to be of sound mind and sound presence because I was there to compete. I wasn't there to F around.
Okay. So Fernando Tatis Jr., who himself never screwed around with child games like wiffle ball, actually a legitimate major league hitter, and 2 home runs on the anniversary of his father's 2 grand slams in the same inning up Chin Ho Park. That is our Love That Play, brought to you by the good folks at Love Heating and Air Conditioning.
We've got our winner of the week, American Dairy Association Indiana, coming up here in just a little bit. The Shops Bite or Bull Bleep will conclude with that. Some Pacers talk, and Jake and his doctor, a bonding experience. And what an American hero that Jake is for everything that Jake does. Isn't he just the best? We'll talk about that next. It's Query and Schultz. Why even have Schultz on this show?
Since mockery?
ISC Sports Network.
We're a different breed, aren't we? While others rest, we choose to work. Where others are content, we stay hungry. They may not see us coming, but we know exactly where we're going. You won't rest until you succeed. Neither will we.
You can't get enough of us.
You can't get enough of us. Good one, J-Man.
This is the worst scandal. This might
This
even
is
be
worse than steroid. Not so fast.
Are you going to watch the XFL?
I'll probably watch a little bit of it.
You want to go through and pick some games?
No, I don't. No, I don't. I really don't.
Indiana dairy farmers provide us with safe, pure foods for our tables. A responsibility that takes intuition, resolve, and determination to make sure their milk is good for you and delicious to taste. Their connection with our community runs deep, passed down through the generations, ensuring that milk is always available at your store. It's not easy being a dairy farmer, but the rewards have special meaning when you can feed Indiana's families every single day. Learn more at winnersdrinkmilk.com.
You're watching Query and Schultz on the ISC Sports Network.
Your life is on the go. Now your viewing habits can be on the go. With the ISC Sports Network app, your team is at your fingertips. You can download years' worth of content from the ISC Sports Network library. High school, college, special events, weekly and monthly shows, wherever you find your favorite app. And you can always find out more information at iscsportsnetwork.com.
Oh my God! We are ripping fast today. And how hard can it be, right? These are now selling for about $3,500. So we're back to our old ways of pulling rocks.
Act like idiots on camera, open cards, and talk about the hobby.
At an Indiana dairy farm, long workdays stretch into more labor after sunset. A newborn calf needs watching, barn needs cleaning, tractor needs some handiwork for tomorrow's tasks. Just like in your own home, the day's chores are never done until the family beds down for the night. Dairy farmers and their families share the same dream with all of us, that what we all do is worthwhile. Bringing to market pure, safe, and healthy dairy foods is what they do, from Indiana's dairy families to ours every single day. Learn more at winnersdrinkmilk.com.
Welcome back to Query and Schultz. It is time for our American Dairy Association of Indiana Winners Drink Milk.
That's part of the show.
That is the winner of the week, and that means that Derek has the, as he calls them, milk facts. One of the things I miss about doing the radio show, Derek, is we can't play the milk song.
Milk facts. I don't know. I couldn't find the sheet. I looked for it during the commercial break. It's somewhere here in the studio, but I'm not sure.
It's sitting right over there. Do you see that folder? Go grab that folder. It's got the milk facts.
I don't think it's in there. I checked this folder.
I mean,
it might be on the back table. I don't want to knock over the cameras. Let me see.
It's always a challenge to make sure that Derek is low enough to not knock over the cameras. Don't knock over the cameras. Sneak your way through here. This is a high. Let me tell you something. This is. Like, we are basically a swing away from Wayne's World at this point, the way that you're doing this. You're supposed to read this, not me. The milk facts are you. I drink the milk. You read the milk.
Jake, you worked in TV. You have to do it
You almost
stealthily.
knocked over the background behind you.
No one saw what I just did because I was ducking and juking around everything.
What are you, Oz Hakeem? You doing the bob and weave?
So I just, like, nobody's even noticed that anything is off here.
Okay.
That's right. I'm supposed to read the milk facts. Here, give me that. I don't know why I handed it to you.
Okay, yeah, here we go.
Oh, yeah, Johnny Carson. That's real timely. People are definitely going to get that reference.
You knew who it was, didn't you?
Well, because my parents were really into Johnny Carson.
You know, I watch Johnny Carson sometimes on, like it's on some high cable channel, and I will admit, I watch it, and I'm like, people thought this was funny.
It's just,
It does not
comedy
stand
has
up.
pushed the envelope so much,
You're right.
though. You know, I kind of get it. One cup.
Hold on.
Or, excuse me, 1 cup. 1 8-ounce
Look,
serving.
Derek, look.
Are there 8 ounces in a cup? I think there
Look.
are. What are you doing? What is that?
That's me pushing the envelope.
Jake, go ahead and mark that, and we'll get that in post.
Okay.
Ready? 3, 2, 1. 1 8-ounce serving of low-fat chocolate milk has as much calcium as 10 cups of raw spinach, as much potassium as a banana, and as much vitamin A as 2 boiled eggs. That is it's a lot of nutrition, and it's a great post-workout.
It is.
I have it all the time, chocolate milk, right after a workout. It's the best recovery drink that there is.
Fabulous.
WinnersDrinkMilk.com if you want to check out even more milk facts and everything that milk can do for you. Do they still say does the body good? Remember? That was a big campaign for a while. Milk, it does the body good?
Sure.
You don't remember what I'm talking about?
course
That was
I
kind of like the
remember.
Be Like Mike of
That's a great commercial.
dairy beverages.
It does do a body good.
My winner of the week,
Right here.
I
does this
almost
body
chose...
good. Look at this right here. It does this body good.
Okay, gross. I almost chose a Pacer, but because really his month, not just last week, but the entire month has been historic.
I know. If you say who we're going to go with the same person here.
Oh, it's got to be Steph Curry, right?
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's incredible what he's done. Last 2 weeks, he's played 8 games. He's gone over 30 in 7 of them and over 40 in 4 of them. He's hit 10 or more threes in 4 of those games as well. He set the NBA record for three-pointers in a week. Jake, in a week, he hit 85 threes. In a week. Now, how many people have gone a season hitting 85 threes?
The thing about him is, I remember a couple of years ago when he got in one of these zones, Derek, and literally he is in range the entire time.
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing how any shot he puts up is going in. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, it is truly remarkable.
Sorry, in a month. Yeah, 85 threes. Well, I was like, wait, that doesn't sound right.
Shows how much I listen to you. Where are they, Golden State, in terms of what have they done from a wins standpoint over the course of this stretch?
I think they're exactly 500. Overall in the season, they're exactly 500. I'm not sure game by game what they've done.
You know, you take Kevin Durant out of there. You take, obviously, Klay Thompson out. Draymond Green is kind of hit and miss. You know, he is carrying them.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, nothing against – and I think Klay Thompson's a wonderful player. But could Klay Thompson carry Golden State like this? No, he kind of has to feed off of – he's a wonderful player. But Steph Curry is doing this. Look, Andrew Wiggins has been a nice player for Golden State. I mean, that's a nice sign for them. But Steph Curry is doing this when everyone going into the game knows that he's going to be putting the ball up, and he still does it.
Yeah, it's not a great roster. You know, they probably belong about where they are. But if you took Steph off of this team, they wouldn't even come close to sniffing the playoffs. You know, not even close.
You know, I'm in a fantasy basketball league, a public league for ESPN.com. Mm-hmm. Just because I wanted to have a reason to follow NBA games. My team, Derek, let me pull up, because you probably should have nominated me as well. The reason I know about the guy I'm playing this week has Steph Curry.
That's good milk.
The league here are the league standings. Just, you can go ahead and read those off for people.
All right. Team Mai is 5th. Team Finn is 4th. Team Pepper is 2nd. Team Apple is 2nd, tied. And you're 16-0, apparently. 317 Charleston.
Yep.
Why is everybody else team something and yours isn't team something?
You can change your name. It was like Team Query. I just changed it to.
Yeah.
16-0. Thank you very much. I'm on a 16-game win streak, obviously. But can I read for you Steph Curry's number, like his last week?
Okay.
Okay, because it's amazing. what he has been able to put together. And I know because I had to go up against his team, and I'm like, oh, my goodness.
Maybe he could someday hit 85 threes in a week.
From a fantasy standpoint,
I don't want to rule it out.
And they're weird fantasy numbers the way they score it, but he has gone for 50, 62, 59, 24, 48, and 51. Yeah. His scoring totals, 33, 47, 49, 18, 32, and 37.
Yeah,
he's actually dropped off a little bit.
Yeah, he had one game where he's off, and he scored under 20. I don't even remember who they were playing, but it's he's already, Jake, and I know that a lot of this in the moment is hyperbole and all that. He's the greatest shooter in NBA history already with what he's done. The question is where he is going to end up all time. I think he's going to be a top 20-ish all-time player.
Here's what's weird. In terms of his pure shooting ability, I don't know that he's the greatest shooter in NBA history. But in terms of his ability, in other words, if you just had 100 guys sitting there, and he's phenomenal in this regard, don't get me wrong. You got to pick 10 guys all time, and they get 100 open three-point shots. Go. Who hits the most of them? A Ray Allen or a Reggie Miller or a Rick Mount, even though he was more ABA, I realize. Dale Ellis. There are guys that were pure shooters. His ability, though, Derek, to hit when there seemingly is no opening.
Yeah.
And to get himself
That's
open.
what I mean.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah. Because there was some other, I think Jason Smith, who was an overnight host of ESPN for a long time, was like ragging on Curry. And I forget, he had some stat. And, he was behind Ray Allen and Reggie Miller. And look, no offense to Ray Allen or Reggie Miller. Steph Curry's 10 times the player that Reggie Miller. And Reggie Miller's a great player, Hall of Fame player. Right. Steph Curry's 10 times the player that Reggie Miller
How many players are definitively better all-time NBA players than Steph Curry? It's more than you think, though.
Yeah. I could probably
because when you
it's
say
going to be hard to do it on the spot.
When you say Steph Curry, like I've heard this debate: is Steph Curry a top 10 all-time player? And you say no, and people take that as a swipe at him. Well, it's not. As much as the players that are so you say no, he's not a top 10 all-time player, and people think that you are knocking Steph Curry, when in reality, it's just
the
a
fact that
numbers
we're
game.
even having that discussion is crazy.
Right now, list off for me people definitively better players than Steph Curry.
Jordan.
Okay.
Kareem.
Okay.
Wilt.
Okay.
LeBron.
Okay.
Oscar.
Okay.
Magic.
Okay.
Bird.
Okay.
Kobe.
Okay.
I think overall, but he's done everything that he's going to do. Shaquille O'Neal, to me, had a better career overall than what Steph Curry's done to this point.
Okay.
Hakeem Olajuwon.
Okay. Hakeem is the one that people forget, and that guy was unbelievable. What about Elgin Baylor? Yay or nay?
I think he's in that mix. Elgin
Jerry
Baylor,
West?
Yeah, I'd probably put West above him now, but I think eventually Curry could get above him.
I think Curry is like a modern West. Like that's the realm. So right there, though, the ones you just named that are kind of the no-brainers.
Yeah.
1,
We're
2,
already
3,
out of the
4,
top 10,
5,
right?
6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's 10 of them.
Yeah. I think he'll end up being
and you didn't mention Bill Russell.
Oh, yeah. I think he'll end up being a top 20 all-time player when it's all said and done.
That's fair. Biden or Bullshultz next?
Yep, we're going to do that.
Okay.
We also have to talk Pacers. We always tease Pacers, and then sometimes we forget about them completely.
They signed a guy.
They actually played well. They played 3 dead corpses last week, but they beat all 3 of those corpses.
Is that opposed to a live corpse?
You are big about that. Like Hoosier native, you get mad.
It drives me nuts.
Okay.
A native's a Hoosier of Indiana.
There's lots of things.
Hoosier
that
native
drive
is a
me
fetus.
Nuts, but I just roll with it.
Okay.
It's Query and Schultz. Back with more next.
We're a different breed, aren't we? While others rest, we choose to work. Where others are content, we stay hungry. They may not see us coming, but we know exactly where we're going. You won't rest until you succeed. Neither will we.
You can't get enough of them.
You can't get enough of us. Good one, J-Man.
This is the worst scandal. This might
This
even
is
be
worse than steroid. Not so fast.
Are you going to watch the XFL?
I'll probably watch a little bit of it.
You want to go through and pick some games?
No, I don't. No, I don't. I really don't.
You're watching Query and Schultz on the ISC Sports Network.
Indiana dairy farmers provide us with safe, pure foods for our tables. A responsibility that takes intuition, resolve, and determination to make sure their milk is good for you and delicious to taste. Their connection with our community runs deep, passed down through the generations, ensuring that milk is always available at your store. It's not easy being a dairy farmer, but the rewards have special meaning when you can feed Indiana's families every single day. Learn more at winnersdrinkmilk.com.
Oh my God! We are ripping fast today. And how hard can it be, right? These are now selling for about $3,500. So we're back to our old ways of pulling rocks.
Act like idiots on camera, open cards, and talk about the hobby.
It's Query and Schultz, ISC Sports Network. Thanks so much for joining us, whether you're watching on ISC itself, maybe you're on Comcast 81, maybe you're listening to us via podcast, where you're missing out on this. You can't even see what I'm doing right now. But we
Gyrating strangely is what he's doing.
Regardless of how you are consuming us, we just want to be consumed. We want to be ingested by you.
Okay.
That's all. Okay. I want to fulfill that thirst or hunger that people have for Query and Schultz. So however they're getting us in them, that's fine. But that sounds weird. We'll cut that out. We'll cut that out in post. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you for watching the show is what I'm trying to say.
You seem to be more reliant on the post than the 86 Celtics.
Yeah, it's been some hours of work editing this show.
Clearly.
Mm-hmm. We've had some problems with that. Let's talk Pacers. They've won 3 in a row. They beat 3 of the worst teams in the league, including 2 that have no interest in winning another game this year. Orlando, who is terrible.
And they changed their colors, Orlando.
And Oklahoma City, who's terrible. Yeah, have you seen that orange
thing? What is that all about?
I sent this out last night, and I think, especially when it comes to jersey takes, people get really upset. And the fact that no one got upset at me about this shows that I think that their jerseys suck. Orlando, their first jerseys were great.
I agree.
Right? Like, when they were an expansion team, like Nick Anderson into the Shaq Penny years, why did they ever change that?
Blue and black and silver with cool colors. Right.
I mean, I don't love pinstripes on basketball uniforms, but I thought that those actually worked for them. And they've just gotten progressively worse. The Suns were like that. The Suns in the 70s
what are the Suns doing
beautiful
now?
uniforms.
Yeah.
And then even in the 90s when they rebranded with Barkley and Thunder Dan and KJ and all those teams, I really love that look. And they're just awful.
How about the Nuggets? What are the Nuggets doing? They're different every week.
They went light blue for a while.
The maroon?
Remember? Yeah, I don't know. A lot of teams have gone back to their 80s colors because they're just cleaner, you know what I mean? And they're less jumbled. But some of these teams have just kind of lost their way when it comes with their look. But anyway, Pacers have won 3 straight. Look, they're going to make the play-in. They're not going to fall out of the playoffs. There's only a couple of weeks left. I think they're 3.5 clear of the 11 seed. But it just remains kind of the same, Jake, where it just doesn't appear like there's anything.
Who are
really
they getting?
For them
they
to
are getting good minutes.
play with.
They're getting good minutes from somebody that if you are a listener or viewer of Query and Schultz has been on your radar for a while.
Yeah, we've always been fans of Edmund Sumner.
Correct.
And
he's playing well.
He's now had back-to-back 20-point games. And how about O'Shea Brissett coming out of nowhere?
Yeah, I mean.
And giving them what he's given them so far. That's like found money.
The thing that was weird about O'Shea Brissett was they signed him to a 10-day contract. Very seldomly does a guy get a 10-day contract, and before the 10 days is up, he gets a 3-year deal.
Well, I think that was the second 10-day. You're only allowed to sign him to back-to-backs, and but you're right that he ends up getting a contract immediately after that.
And, I mean, he kind of reminds me of, like, when they signed Wesley Matthews, and it's just a guy that, I guess somebody's got to get points. Does it?
The difference is, though, Wesley Matthews was like a established NBA player.
Correct.
You know what I mean? Like, O'Shea Brissett, nobody had heard of him 6 weeks ago.
Yeah, well, I mean, where did he come from? I know he played at Syracuse, right?
Yeah, he I think was with the Raptors and their G League team, and so I think Bjorgren may have had some sort of familiarity.
Gotcha.
Based on that, but I honestly I don't know if that's true, Jake. I'm just
he played
guessing,
at Syracuse. I know that,
but maybe that's where that comes from, because I had never heard of him.
I'm curious when Sabonis, who's on my fantasy team, by the way, curious when Sabonis comes back because the back injury, Derek, this is going to tell us a lot about where the Pacers, where their head is. Like, are they pushing in? Are they being overly cautious with Sabonis because they know the year's a wash, or are they going to say, look, we got to get him back out there?
I don't.
That will tell us a lot about where what their thinking is.
I think what I'm more focused on is when you go into next season, are you going to have Turner and Sabonis? Because I don't think you are. I think one of them inevitably is finally going to go.
I think the more trade value of the two might be Sabonis. I think Turner might be more valuable to what Indiana wants to do, but I think Turner has less value across the board.
Well, Turner has more value, and I'll tell you why. He fits more places.
So
that's what, you can airdrop Miles Turner onto just about any NBA team with his skill set and his ability to defend and all of that.
See, I disagree. I think Sabonis
you have to cater towards.
I think Sabonis has more. I do think that Sabonis has more value across the board, but I think if Sabonis and Turner need to now be separated, and I mean, it's not that they hate each other, but if the playing styles of the two has run its course in terms of them on the floor together, that would be because of Sabonis outgrowing that as opposed to Turner.
I just think, and I don't want people to get it twisted, pound for pound, I think Sabonis is a better basketball player. But you're asking me, more trade value because I think you'd have more teams clamoring for Turner because he fits in more spots.
Well, I mean, his ability to protect the rim is probably gives him some value.
I just think Sabonis is kind of square peg round hole right now with what the Pacers want to do because he's become a bit of a defensive, well, more than a bit. He's become kind of a defensive liability for them.
Okay.
That's all. But again, there's just not a lot of reason, the Pacers beating the Magic, the Pacers beating the Thunder, who cares? It just doesn't really do anything for me. I'm waiting to get this season over with so I can see what they end up doing this offseason and tinker with this roster.
And it's weird, too, because then you say, like, well, it's exciting to see what they do in the draft, but how much do we know about this year's players,
Will they be picking, like, 18th? Great.
Is that Timmy fella coming out?
Oh, I don't know. I haven't even looked at that.
He's not an 18th.
It's not automatically
He's not 18th, though. He's a second rounder.
Guy. I know the Pacers have drafted a lot of white guys, but it's not automatically going to be that.
Okay.
Time for the shop's Buy It or Bull Bleep. Here's what we do. I give a statement. Jake and I go back and forth whether it's buy it or whether we buy it or it's Bull Bleep. 2 brick-and-mortar locations for the shop. You can check them out in Clay Terrace if you're up in Carmel or on the Strip in Broad Ripple.
Next to Union Jack, 920 Broad Ripple Avenue.
920 Broad Ripple Avenue. Or, of course, online, 24/7, 365.
And not only do they have cool designs on their shirts, but the quality of the shirts, too. Soft.
Oh, yeah.
They're great.
They hug me where I need to be hugged.
Okay.
It's a little bit tougher because I'm a little bit more broad, and a lot of shirts, a lot of male shirts aren't made, like they're not expecting somebody of my height, 5'6", to have as thick and muscular of a neck as I do.
Okay.
So it's tough because it's kind of like bulging out, you know what I mean? And I mean, it's the cross I bear. It's just kind of bursting at the
cross you bear.
Yeah,
okay.
Bursting at the seams a little bit.
Okay.
Something that I have to live with every day. It's my life, It's part of it. But the shop does a good job with that. Yep.
All right.
Ready for statement 1?
Sure.
Buy it or Bull Bleep, Jake. The Indianapolis 500 will not reach their maximum capacity of 135,000 fans.
That's a really good one. We'll never know.
They're going to say that they're going to get that no matter what,
correct,
right? Because they would never.
I'm going to say it's Bull Schultz, and they do get it because I think they threw that number out having a pretty good idea of what they anticipate showing up.
Yeah, and I think for so many people that didn't get to go last year, I do think that there's enough demand for 135,000 people to want to go.
Right.
That's 40% or that's probably 50% of a normal crowd. Right. I know that they use that number. What was it off of 320? But I would say normally the Indianapolis 500, and I'm talking like the EDM music, Snake Pit, the whole deal, probably has about 275K in there. Wouldn't you say?
That's fair. Yep.
On a normal year.
That's fair.
So I think that they will get there. That's about half capacity normal. I don't know if you saw this, but Madison Bumgarner,
I did see
7-inning no-hitter. It should count as a no-hitter. Buy it or Bull Bleep.
Yeah, it was an official. Does the game count?
Yeah.
The game counts in the standings, right?
I don't know, man. Like
I mean, you could put an asterisk next to it, but yeah, it counts.
I knock on MLB a lot. A lot of people beating up MLB over this. How many times does a pitcher take a no-hitter into the 8th inning?
Was it a perfect game?
No, it was just a no-no.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did they celebrate it like a no-no?
No, they kind of like shook hands and whatever. And
He has
like, hey,
he
good
has
job,
one
bro.
though already, doesn't he?
You know what? I don't.
You know what
the
he
answer
did
to
get?
that.
You know what?
I know Matt Cain had one.
You know what Madison
Giants
Bumgarner
teammates.
does have, Derek? He's got a truck with all the bells and whistles and technology and stuff.
That's right. The very awkward World Series interview. I'm not seeing.
I would have thought for sure Madison Bumgarner has one. But regardless, yeah, I think you score it, but you put next to it 7-inning game by rule.
And I get what people are saying. Look, he didn't have the chance to complete it because it was just 7 innings, but still.
But he knew going into the game, this is the number of frames that I'm going to pitch, and he managed to throw in those number of frames and not allow a hit. It's a no-hitter.
God, his career World Series ERA is .25.
How many starts?
Career. I'll have to look that up.
Is he a Hall of Famer?
You know, that's a great question. He's still only 32, so he has some more years.
How many career wins?
He's up to 122 career wins, but only 98 losses.
How many strikeouts?
Almost 2,000.
Okay, you know who that sounds like to me?
Kurt Schilling?
Oral Hershiser.
Yeah. Hershiser isn't in the Hall of Fame, though.
I don't believe he is.
Yeah. But Hershiser kind of he won the Cy that year in '88, right?
Oh, yeah. He set the record for most consecutive scoreless innings.
Hershiser always struck me as a guy that had one really great year among like Boomer Esiason. One really great year among a good career.
Know, Derek, from a between-the-lines playing standpoint, Kurt Schilling should be in the Hall of Fame.
I agree. Yeah. I think people are taking into account who he's become, or I guess maybe who he always was as a person.
Right.
Because I agree with you. Yeah.
What's the next one?
Third one. I don't know if you've ever had this before. I've had it. Shake Shack is no big deal. Buy it or bold believe.
100,000%, $1,000,000%. Never more emphatically have I agreed with anything on this program than.
So you have had
Yes,
it.
in fact, I buy it. Shake Shack is no big deal.
Where would it be on your regional Whataburger, Fat Burger, any of those other ones that you've had ranking? Steak and Shake. And I'm talking like heyday Steak and Shake, because Steak and Shake now is barely edible.
Right. In the annals of quarterbacks, like if Steak and Shake in its heyday, to me, open disclaimer, nostalgic steak here, and my buddy's not. But in terms of the taste, I mean, Steak and Shake to me would be Peyton Manning and Five Guys as Tom Brady.
Five Guys is good. It's been a minute since I've had Five Guys.
It is. And In-N-Out is.
I've never had In-N-Out.
In-N-Out's fries aren't very good.
Yeah.
But the burger's good.
I thought Whataburger was really great.
Fat Burger's good.
I really liked it when we had Whataburger in Texas.
Shake Shack to me, David Craig.
Yikes. So that's down there then.
I mean,
I like it more than that.
John Kitna. It's good. Yeah. It's sufficient. No, I'll give it more than that. Chris Chandler.
See, I'd go more like Eli Manning. Like it's
okay.
Yeah, it's
but
solid.
their fries though, the fries are just frozen
I don't
or
get
Ida
that
fries that I got in high school.
And I hate the processed cheese
with like 2 pumps of cheese on
I'm not a big processed cheese.
Go to
guy.
Kroger,
like the nacho
get some of the
cheese
crinkle cut frozen fries.
Dump
put them in your oven.
Tray. Yeah.
Pull them out and get a can of that Cheese Whiz.
Yeah. There you go.
But they're there for their burgers, I guess.
But again, Jake,
and shakes.
You were mentioning this earlier, like the 500. It felt good for Indy to be relevant. I think when these chains come to Indianapolis, everybody's like, "Oh man, look at us!
Well, do you
we have a
remember
Shake Shack."
When
Whoa.
Jack in the Box opened and the line was around the door, and then you go to California and you look at it and they get like a D- on their, you know what I mean?
I still have never had Jack in the Box.
They have good tacos.
Never.
Caleb, the over-enthusiastic
I was
intern.
going to mention that. Yeah.
Caleb
is watching right now. I don't know if he stuck around for the end of the show, but yeah, he put on probably 30. Wouldn't you say? Working there.
He had a few of the tacos.
It happens. That happened to me in college.
Okay.
I got up to 190 at one point. I mean, muscle weighs more than fat, and a lot of it was that, but it was
Okay.
a lot of that. And Keystone Light. That too. That's it for Bite or Bo Bleep.
Okay.
Let's end on a happy note with your story with your doctor, because I do think, all kidding aside, I know I bust your chops about this, but this is a cool thing that I knew you had been planning to do with him for a while, and sometimes people just say, oh, yeah, sure, I'll do that with you, but for him to kind of follow through on this,
100%
meant a lot
to
to you.
It did mean a lot to me. Obviously, we've made a lot about, and I certainly understand the fatigue of it, the fact that I had a heart attack in October. But when I had that heart attack, Derek, it was the day before I was to leave for the IndyCar race in St. Petersburg last year. And I still recall it because when I was sitting in the room where they took me and determined that I was having a heart attack, the cardiologist, Dr. Benjamin Mottman, is his name. He's a graduate of Michigan State and then Wayne State Medical School. He's a native of Grand Rapids, Michigan. And I'm sitting there, and they've got everything on me, and yes, you're having a heart attack. And so he comes walking in, and he kind of talked to the nurse for a second, and he said, listen, here's the deal. Like, you are experiencing a significant cardiac episode, and, you're having a heart attack. And I remember I said to him, so I'm probably not going to the IndyCar race tomorrow in St. Petersburg that I'm supposed to leave for. And he said, yeah, you're probably not going anywhere for a couple days here. I said, okay. So then they determined that I needed to have a stent put in me and an angioplasty to open up the artery that was 100% blocked. And I'm sitting there, and I was pretty even keel about it. I mean, I knew the realities of it, but I started thinking about just my lifestyle and how everything had changed for me at that point. And Dr. Mottman is a young guy, young for me. I mean, he's in his mid-30s. And was as cool as a cucumber, man. I'm telling you folks right now, if you are ever in a situation where your life is hanging in the balance, like mine was at the Heart and Cardiovascular Hospital of Community Health Network on the north side of Indianapolis, a guy with the expertise and the cool as a cucumber level of Dr. Benjamin Mottman is who you want, because this guy was as cool as could be. But I said to him, so let me ask you something. If I make it out of this, what are the odds that I'll be able to run the mini marathon in May, which I've done each and every May, mostly just to, give me something to do to get through the winter, right, to keep you on task. And he said, man, there's a lot that goes into that. I've got to look and see how much muscle damage your heart has, what your heart strength is. First we got to get you out of here. I mean, we got to make it through this process. So I said, okay. And my memory is that I said this before my stent, but I think he's correct that it was actually the morning after when he was going over my heart damage. And I was very fortunate that was minimal. So I again asked him, so can I do the mini marathon in May? And he said, there are a lot of steps to that. I think you should go through the cardio rehab, and we'll go kind of week by week. And I said, fine. But here's the deal, Dr. Mottman. If I do it, and I do everything you say, and I get myself back to the position to run the mini marathon, I want you to run it with me. And he was like, look, man, I don't know if I can do 13 miles right now. And I said, well, I'm having a heart attack, so what's your excuse? And then he said, hey, I did run the Chicago Marathon when I was in my early 20s, and he's in good shape, and he's a young guy. So I'm like, you should be able to do it. He was non-committal at that moment. But about a month later, Derek, he basically said to me, I'm in. I'll train for it, and I'm in. And we had very light and casual conversation about it, via text. Nothing. So finally, about 3 weeks ago, I texted him because I figured out this coincidence that the day before I was to leave for the IndyCar race in St. Petersburg also happened to be the 6-month anniversary of my heart attack. So I texted him and said, what if we do it on the day before I'm supposed to leave? Just like the last time before I was supposed to leave for St. Petersburg was when we met. And he wrote back and said, I'm going to clear my schedule. Let's do it. So we met at Big Lug Canteen Thanks to Eddie Sam, who kind of figured out the distances for us on the Monon. We were originally going to go from Leader House to Big Lug, back to Leader House to Big Lug, and that made out 13.2. But it was weird because it was like snowing outside.
Oh, it was
and
awful, yeah.
I was driving to Big Lug to meet Dr. Mottman to do it, and he said, so do you want to go to your gym and do it on the treadmill because it's cold out, or do you want? And I said, it's totally up to you. And he said, I'm from Michigan, man. We can handle this. So we started at Big Lug, and he had it might have been an Apple Watch or whatever it was, but it measured the distances. And he said, well, let's just go from here and just go for 6.55 miles and turn around and come back. So we started at Big Lug, and we basically went up to 151st Street on the Monon, turned around, and came back. And the only time we stopped was when we were near Sun King in Carmel. There was like a pop-up snowstorm. It was the weirdest thing I'd ever seen. I mean, literally it went from...
Yeah, the snow squalls.
We're like, it turned out to be a beautiful day. And then all of a sudden, like...
I went through one of those.
The temperature dropped 20 degrees. It was crazy. And I said, do we need to duck into one of these places and warm up? So we went in, used the restroom. I think he checked a couple messages. We were probably in there for 10 minutes, and then we returned. But we talked the entire time. I know that surprises you. I didn't think we would. I figured we'd just listen to music and do our own thing. He ran with me the entire way. We talked a lot about his medical career and then about we relived, and I'm sure he's tired of reliving, as I'm sure you are, my journey. But we talked about it a lot. And then
you talking about San Antonio?
No, I did not.
Did I come up?
You did not come up, no. Although, no, I take that back. He did say, now, who's the little guy that you do the show with?
You ran for 13 miles, and my name did not come up at one
He mentioned the podcast. He asked about the radio show, and he asked about the podcast, and he said, who's the little guy you do it with, and do you guys get along? And I said, and he said, like, I don't remember you saying anything about him when you were about to die. And I said, that's okay. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, your name came up, yeah.
Little guy with a healthy ticker.
For now.
So I wouldn't expect him to know my name.
Well, let me tell you something. I got a 10-year head start on you. So at any rate, we had a lot of fun. Afterwards, we ate dinner at Big Lug, and it was, of course, fantastic. He even told me I could have a beer. He's my cardiologist, so I got to follow his lead. And it was great. And I appreciated him doing it. And then afterwards, he said, you know what? He goes, I'll do this with you every year. So let's do it again next year. I said, all right.
And you got your road trip coming up, speaking of your yearly calendar.
That is correct. In October, Byron and I are going to Wyoming. We're flying to Wyoming and doing our road trip back.
You have to get some Wyoming Cowboys gear.
But
I know that's your favorite.
I love the Cowboys. But here's the last thing, folks. He did tell me, Derek, that he has done a few angioplasties from people that had heard about and went in and got a scan done, and they realized that they had blockage. If you have any question whatsoever about the health of your heart, concerns, or your family heart history, unsolicited, and maybe he doesn't even want me doing it, but I'm telling you, wherever it is that you go, I hope that you get the same kind of care and the same kind of friendship out of your doctor that Dr. Benjamin Mottman had. Great dude. Great dude.
Yeah. I just wish you would speak about me that way.
I'll tell you what.
Because I have kind of saved your life over the last 10 years in a way. Have kind of saved your life. Like, not like literally saved your life. Like, you're dying. I went in there like Dr. Mottman and saved you. But I kind of saved your life.
Have you ever locked your keys in your car?
I certainly saved your brand, considering where it was when we started the show.
Have you ever locked your keys in your car?
Yes.
Have you ever tried to use the...
I've tried and failed. Yeah.
So you needed to get a clothes hanger in to try to hit the little button, and you couldn't do it?
No.
Okay. He took a clothes hanger through my arm all the way up through my arteries into the lower ascending whatever it is to clear a blood clot in my heart to make sure that I didn't die.
I'm not minimizing it. It's incredible. But also having a really wildly successful middle market AM radio show for 8.5 years is also an incredible feat.
It is.
Similar to the clothes hanger going into the heart thing.
It is.
Yeah. I just wish you'd appreciate it more.
Okay.
We appreciate all of our sponsors here on the show. American Dairy Association Indiana, The Shop Indy, WGU Indiana, Chateau Kitchens, and Love Heating and Cooling. Next week, we'll be back with episode 34, the Charles Oakley episode. I'm just going to do Knicks players from here on out.
So last week was Dale Davis, and we didn't even realize it.
Xavier McDaniel, yeah.
Okay. Thank you for watching the Antonio Davis Show.
See you later.
Long workdays stretch into more labor after sunset. A newborn calf needs watching. Barn needs cleaning. Tractor needs some handiwork for tomorrow's tasks. Just like in your own home, the day's chores are never done until the family beds down for the night. Dairy farmers and their families share the same dream with all of us, that what we all do is worthwhile. Bringing to market pure, safe, and healthy dairy foods is what they do, from Indiana's dairy families to ours every single day. Learn more at winnersdrinkmilk.com.
You're watching Query and Schultz on the ISC Sports Network.
Oh my God!
We are ripping fast today.
And how hard can it be, right?
These are now selling for about $3,500. So we're back to our old ways of pulling rocks.
Act like idiots on camera, open cards, and talk about the hobby.
Your life is on the go.